You know the old saying, dogs are man's best friend. That saying apparently goes back centuries.
Yeah, that's right. An obscure box of bones sitting in the Nevada State Museum has shed new light on the bond between dogs and people that goes back much further than we might have imagined. Here's George Knapp from Channel 8 Eyewitness News.
Just how and when dogs and people became friends isn't clear. The ancestors of this dog were old world wolves, more likely to eat people than to serve them. Scientists believe that when the first humans migrated to North America 12,000 years ago, they brought the family dog with them.
This is our crypt cave dog.
In a nondescript cardboard box at the State Museum in Carson City is a set of bones that reveals an amazing story about an ancient friendship.
This was a fairly large dog, not a great big wolf dog, but he was of a pretty good size. He could have been a hunting companion for running down moderate-sized game.
The bones were found back in the 1950s, but their significance wasn't revealed until more recently, when carbon dating nailed down their true age.
We were a little bit surprised to find out how old he was, 6,300 some odd years old, because there's very little in Nevada from, cultural material from that time period.
Little is known about the people who lived in Nevada 6,300 years ago, let alone any dogs. That period was considered the harshest in the history of the Great Basin. A great drought was ending, although parts of northern Nevada were marshlands that might have appeared much as they do today. Food in such regions was comparatively plentiful, and it was there that Crypt Cave Dog lived with his family. Dogs then were useful as sentries or in hunting, but the nature of these remains suggests a special relationship.
He was completely articulated and wrapped in a fish net. Fish nets were very valuable to, any nets were very valuable to people living in the desert. That's how they got quantity of food that allowed them to live through the winter. To have sacrificed a net to wrap around this dog meant he was very important to the people.
It's comparable, she says, to how early people would have buried one of their children. The bones hold another clue about the relationship.
He had a severely broken hind leg. His tibia had been broken in a compound fracture, and he was taken care of while that healed. And I don't believe he could have survived that serious of break if he hadn't been fed and cared for by somebody who cared about him.
Danzy says the leg may have been fractured during hunting, as if crushed by the weight of a larger prey. The break meant the dog could no longer hunt or take care of itself, but it lived on for a few more years and was well fed by its family. Just as scientists are unable to establish firm links between ancient peoples and modern populations, there isn't much to connect Crypt Cave Dog to any modern dog species. However, there are some clues. He was so well preserved in the dry Nevada cave that bits of skin and yellow fur were preserved. His size, behavior, and coloring are nearly identical, researchers say, to a modern feral species known as the Carolina dog. As close as we can guess, you're looking at Crypt Cave Dog. And the affection shown between dog and human back then still runs strong today.
Well, we all know dogs are very friendly animals and make wonderful companions, and I'm sure they have all along, because wolves are still the way they always were, and they still have that great social organization, that bonding of the group. And the affection between the members is pretty obvious. And they transfer that devotion and affection when they're domesticated as dogs to the human pack.
For Las Vegas 1, George Knapp, Eyewitness News.
Only 5 other dogs ever found in North America are as old as Crypt Cave Dog, and none of the others came close to revealing as much about the human-dog relationship. By the way, in that same cave where Crypt Cave Dog was found, scientists also discovered the oldest remains of an American cheetah. But that's a whole other story.